أجمعين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم رب زدني علما أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولله المشرق والمغرب فأينما تولوا فثم وجه الله إن الله واسع عليم صدق الله مولانا العظيم. So previously we talked about the sanctity of the masjids and that no one is more tyrannical than who prevents the masjids from being frequented and the people to engage in their activities. And also that the qibla, which is the direction of our prayer, is actually a direction for us to be focused. It's a direction for us to also be unified upon, to bring the individuals in a focus and direction towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also the ummah in general and collectively. So there's also a number of issues that are connected with qibla and with masajid, so we want to mention a few of them. So number one, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ مَنَعَ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ, who is more tyrannic than prevents from the masajid. So this means that all masajid have the sanctity, have an equal, share in sanctity as such, even though there are masjids which have a higher status. But in terms of the sanctity of the masjid and the absolute necessity of preserving that sanctity, all masajids share equally in that. In spite of that, of course, probably we know that the Masjid al-Haram has the highest position of all the masajid, and it's mentioned in hadith that a salat in Masjid al-Haram is equal to 100,000 salats in any other masjid. And the Masjid al-Nabawi and also Bayt al-Maqdis, these two are the second and third most important masajids in the ummah. And they carry the reward. There are various riwayats pointing to anywhere from 10,000 to 50,000 salats, as opposed to any salat in any other masajid. And as such, these are special masajid, and they have special features, regarding them. And as a result, so one may undertake a pilgrimage, not only pilgrimage for Hajj, but just to go and visit these masajid and witness, the mashahid and the awesome, events that took place in and around these masajid, is a very auspicious act. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq, particularly Bayt al-Maqdis, which is now under occupation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open it up for all of us and all the masajid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as for other masajid, it is not permissible according to hadith. So making a special intention to go to a specific masjid other than these three masjids and undertaking long journeys for that sake, this is not acceptable in Islam. However, is there a what we call tafawut? Is there is there a higher and lower position of masajid within our area, and we should be cognizant of that and perhaps take advantage of that? For example, it's also indicated in the hadith that a larger jamaat is more loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than a smaller jamaat. So if we have in the area a larger jamaat, then that is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of our ulama have mentioned that those masajids which are very old, and for perhaps some of them we've seen, we have masajid in some of our countries which are centuries old. And so for centuries, the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the pious people have been offering their prayers in that. So the ruhaniyat, the spirituality of those masajid, one can feel. So that's also, but one should not undertake journeys per se, to these places. If it's possible that you can, in your localities, you have such masajid with bigger jamaats, older masajid, then of course this would be a special fazilat. But having said that, all masajid there should be an effort that all masajid should become full of activity, full of people and engaged in those activities. Okay, now, one other point. There's several points, inshallah. Well, some of them we'll cover today, some tomorrow, inshallah. So last point we'll cover today is that since it's mentioned in the ayat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to him is the mashriq and maghrib, and anywhere you point, then you will find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, giving his attention to you. So is there really a significance in direction? Yes, there's a significance in direction, as we mentioned. However, that being said, wherever we happen to be faced, we are going to be able to acquire the attention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as such, so the salat, whether it was for Bayt al-Maqdis or towards the Kaaba al-Musharrafa, it was all acceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also, there's a peculiar masala which we should be aware of, and that is that if we are in journey and we are out of the city, and we're actually on our, in the old days, so obviously people would ride on their camels and their horses. So Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam in nafl, now this is nafl, this is not fard. Nafl salat outside of the city in a shari safar. So we know from Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam's practice that he would offer his nawafil on his camel, pointing in any direction. Wherever the camel was pointing, he would offer his salat in that direction. In nafl, in safar, in journey, outside of the city. And so from that we understand there's also a very important point here, is that while we're in journey, rather than wasting our time in useless pursuits or just squandering the time and doing nothing, we can utilize this time very, very practically by offering our nafil salat, recitation of Quran, dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mudhakara of ilm. So in Safar, it shows that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was hadith. He was very particular and to take the opportunities that were available to him to continuously engage in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's remembrance and his ubudiyyah and ibadah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.